Sabrina, welcome to the show. Could you tell us what it means to lead as an intuitive CEO?
Yeah, thanks so much for having me. Gosh, I feel like that is such a loaded question. But in the shortest format that I can answer that in is in my 10 years of building success, in the multiple businesses that I have advised and started, which to date, we're going on over 100 million, and businesses that I've co founded and advised. I have noticed one common denominator in people who have been wildly successful from the point of happiness, fulfillment, and wealth. And I noticed that they've always trusted their path, even if it was crazy. So to me, being an intuitive CEO means that you listen to your inner voice, even if it doesn't make sense. You trust yourself, even if your circumstances don't trust you temporarily, and that you are always leading with your authenticity and your truth. And I think if you follow those three things, not only will you find your path to wealth the fastest, but it'll feel good too.
Sure. So you've co-founded and advised nine figures altogether, which is absolutely insane. That's amazing. What are some things that you've noticed? I know you kind of talked about the whole idea of intuitive CEO, like what you've noticed from those people and their path. But what are some things that you would tell people, like maybe trying to get on the path to maybe maximize their chances of success?
I think if more people listened to what they wanted to do when they first get that idea, because we get ideas all the time, right? And we usually wait for somebody to validate them. Well, I'm going to call my mom, I'm going to call my friend, I'm going to post this on TikTok. And I think, that's fine if you want to get those things validated. I think, the market will tell you whether or not you have a good product. And we need people to validate us in that sense, right? Like that saying where it's like revenue is king. Revenue will always tell you if you have a good idea. But I think sometimes, like when you look at Elon Musk or you look at Jeff Bezos or you look at Sarah Blakely, those three entrepreneurs all created things that didn't exist prior to what they created, right? And I feel like they did not wait to be validated. They just went and did it. Now, it took 10 years, but I think in the inception of any business, that saying where it's like keep your goals to yourself, and I really think what that's doing is that's protecting what you are building quietly. And I think there's a balance between doing that and and who you share it with, like like depending on who you share your ideas with, depending on like who supports you, like that saying where it's like the five people around you are the most basically define your success. I think is what really makes or breaks you to the next level.
Sure, is a great answer. I would say, uh, not that I have a crazy amount of experience in the business world, but I definitely, from talking to people, I agree with what you're saying. I think that's a very good point that you brought up. You talked about the five people you surround yourself with the most. I know as somebody who takes that quote very seriously, I'm always trying to make sure that I'm around good people. What are some ways for people to be able to put themselves maybe in rooms or in groups of people that are like minded? Because one of the things that I feel like I've struggled with a lot is finding people that not only think like me, but also kind of, have high aspirations for themselves. They want success, they want all those things, but it's kind of hard to come by those people. Do you have any tips?
Yeah, it's so funny because I still like I'm still learning about new people in new rooms. I'll actually share a story really quickly because I think it's relevant. Um, I currently live in Phoenix, and this was the first year where I stayed in one state because historically I built most of my career in California. And when I built my first business, I was in and out of California. And I always had like one foot out in a big city where I always had access to all of that, right? And then I just lived and my parents live here in Arizona, so it was easy for me. And it's interesting because recently, and I posted a Substack newsletter about this yesterday. I think there are five huge indicators that you're ready to step into a new room or you're ready for like bigger change. And I actually experienced that myself for the first time living in a place where I felt like I kinda outgrew it. So I think the first sign is, like pushing yourself to really ask, like, "Am I okay with the people that are around me? Am I okay with am I like, if I were to be in this environment that I created for myself for the next 12 months, and if my future self approves of this environment, does it help me get to that point?" And if the answer is yes, then I think there's still more fuel to kind of be in and expand it. If the answer is no, then I think the number one way to meet more people and expand into something bigger is to step into your future identity. So whatever you're creating, let's just say you want to start a business and you want to make $1 million in your business net, then I would act like that every day. And I think the thing where that people get wrong is, oh, I have to be a certain level of success in order to be in certain rooms. I have to be a certain level of success in order for me to believe that I can get on TikTok and start posting, or I can, go and ask for money in my business. And the thing is, like, the most successful people don't wait around for that. They just put on that hat and they're like, okay, even if I don't have the money in my bank account, even if I don't have the people around me that can get to that place, how can I start acting that way today? How can I dress up that way today? How can I, when I'm on TikTok and I'm posting on TikTok and I have 100 followers, um, am I talking on camera like I already have 1 million followers? And I think when you wear that identity, your energy is so magnetic. You carry something that is so potent that, one, just right then and there, you've outgrown everybody in the room. Like, just right then and there, all your friends, all the people that you've already kind of been accustomed to, you outgrew them. Um, and two, you open yourself up to a level of confidence that those people can see. At least this has been my journey. Anytime I have, and I've studied this in my own journey. I've gone back to the last 10 years of any time I got my dream job at Apple with zero engineering degree, or got my first $150,000 job when I was like 23 years old, right? Or got on TikTok for the first time in 7 years of not posting social media and got 2 million views across my post, which is actually how I started my first business. It was because I cleared out all the noise. I blocked out all the people that I felt like were judging me or were a reason for my stunted growth. And I just went after it and I did it. And it was always people that opened up doors for me. But the reason why they opened up doors for me was because they were like, you have something different about you. Like, you believe in yourself. And because you believe in yourself, like, I believe you. So I think it starts from there.
That is an amazing answer, and I also agree with this idea of people taking chances on you. So, I had a really good guest on the show. His name was Sunil Gupta, and he wrote a book about how to get people to want to take chances on you. So, just the idea, well, I guess just the premise is super interesting because I think a lot of people don't believe that it's possible. They're like, "Oh, okay, Sabrina's in this room with this person. Yeah, maybe she just grew up with them or she got lucky." So, it's I think a lot of people have mixed views on a lot of things like in life and I think in business as well. So that's one of those things where it's just I think the more you can open up your mind, kind of like you're talking about, to the idea and the possibility as well of, something going well, the more of a chance it happens. And I think even for me, like having a podcast, I think some of my guests have also seen like I have a fire, I'm trying my best, I'm doing this thing, I'm only 20, and I think they really appreciate the hustle and the hard work, because as somebody who's 20, the only thing I really have right now is time. I don't really have that much money, but it's like, how am I using my time? How can I use it better than I guess I did yesterday? And, I guess it goes on and on. I wanted to ask you, what are the biggest bottlenecks that you see in business?
That's a really big question depending on the industry, depending on the person. Like, do you mean like in the whole, like if you were to start a business today, what would stop somebody?
Yeah.
Um, I mean, you can, maybe it's because I have a company called Intuitive CEO, but I really think it's yourself. Like, I'll give you an example. So I'm doing a lot of testing right now in a few businesses that I'm just starting. And it's so interesting because I feel like, as someone who spent 5 years co-founding a huge business, and then I took a step away, started another business, it is incredible how much you stay humbled no matter how many times, no matter how successful you are, just because you've made money or you've had success with growing any venture, it doesn't mean you're prepared for the next one. I always tell people it never gets easier. You just become really numb to all the bullshit. And
Okay.
it's scary, but it's not as scary because you're like, well, I survived the last thing. So, I'm 10 times more adapt to handling the next thing. So I think there's a lot of noise right now online. You have AI, you have all these new platforms coming out. Younger kids, like kids your age. I mean, I hire a lot of kids your age and they're killing it and they're making money online and I think what I didn't have when I was your age was that noise. And so I think you're going to have a lot of people entering the market, which is going to flood a lot of confusion and deception because like, oh my god, everyone's creating something. Really only, like, the top 1% of people, and I'm not talking about wealthy. I'm talking about people who, like, really believe in what they're building. They're never gonna quit. They don't care if they, go bankrupt or go broke on the process. There's nothing that's gonna stop those people. Those people will make it. So I think there's this deception of a lot of saturation in the market in entrepreneurship. I also think there is a big wave of you hear this word authenticity a lot. Um, but I think kids your age will define the new culture of business. Like in my world, my first company was in private equity, which is very structural and numbers focused, and you have to have a lot of credentials to get into that door. And now you have, people your age are creating TikToks and doing all these things, and they're just flooding the market with online businesses. And so I think the path to business will be just as hard because the ticket to get in is to be yourself, whereas the ticket before was to check all these boxes and impress somebody on the other side. But now virality and money and community, they're all the same, right? And whereas before you didn't have to have those things to do well. So I think there's just a lot of saturation, perceived saturation, and what used to work before, I don't think works as well anymore. And so I think people are still getting used to this like big culture shift that it's okay to be yourself, it's okay to share. And that actually raises more money and brings more loyalty and retention to products than that has ever, been the case in the past.
Sure. Sabrina, you talked about the idea that the internet's flooded now. You have AI, we have all of these different people starting online businesses. Through the noise, how can we gauge who is really like, I wouldn't say, because I was about to say who is really authentic, because you used the word, but instead of authentic, how can we like see through the noise and see what's right from what's wrong, especially like in businesses? You see a lot of people starting online businesses, but they might not be the most ethical in a sense, and they might not be, the best structured, because it's like online businesses, especially with kids my age, it's something you just start in like an hour and then you build it slowly. But then like, kids my age, they give up halfway through. So how can, for we can use me as an example, how can I look through all this noise and see, what's the truth, what's really out there, and what's the good things that I can utilize
As a buyer or someone who wants to like start?
as somebody who wants to start?
Um, I think I think it's well, I'm going to answer it from the perspective of how those people can be viewed as comparison. Like, oh, I'm going to compare myself to those people, and they're doing is working for them, and like I'm going to go copy them or I'm going to try because that's the thing. Like, I think a lot of um, I mean, and you hear that with Alex Hormozy, right? And a lot of these larger creators who have done really, really well. It's whomever sticks the longest in their business is the one that wins because they just never quit. So I think it's looking at a few characteristic traits. I think one is someone's devotion to their business. Like, do they stick it out when it gets hard? Two, this is a contrary belief, probably pissed off a lot of people, but I really don't think you're a very well rounded entrepreneur unless you've owned one or two businesses and you've eaten a lot of shit. Um, And so, like, for instance, for me, I'm starting my third business right now. My first business was a large business. My second one is basically my personal brand. Like, that's what I monetize through my personal brand. And my third one is building community and a movement around building authentically to you, right? And using yourself as a source of truth. And they're all different and they've all required me to completely start over with the same resources that you have. I'm not using money for what I'm doing. I'm using my voice for what I'm doing. We're starting on the same foot. It's just I have years of experience of rejection, people hating me, and all the things, right? So I think looking at someone and saying, do they really have the characteristics of staying in something for the long run? I think that's a huge trait that actually is missing now in a lot of people because people want that gratification. They're like, let's just push through. And if I don't get this amount of followers or this amount of this, then I don't want to do this anymore. And the real secret sauce in any business is your reps. It's your reps. And whether you take those reps publicly, which everybody's scared to do, or whether you take those reps privately, which is like overnight success really takes 5 years. I really do believe that. That is, you can tell a lot about someone with what they've experienced in business. I really do believe track record it goes a long way.
Sure. What do you think about the quote that says the business works on you more than you work on it?
Um, whatever comes to mind, right? I think your business, and there's two sides of the camp to this. I have worked with many entrepreneurs, a few business partners that come to mind, where they truly believe that a business is not an extension of you. A business has its own value, its own identity, and that's that. Which is true, right? Like Walmart is Walmart. I don't
Sure.
even know who owns Walmart, right? And then you have you as an extension of your like business, and that's more personal brand side and online products, and I really do believe you are an extension. It's funny because when people ask me like, how do I make more money in my business? How do I attract better clients? How do I market myself better? Like my sales sucks. Like help me convert more. I work with a lot of people just in that. And my answer is like, well, who are you when you're selling? Who are you when you're showing up on sales calls, right? And I think when you carry that identity of I already make this amount of money, right? I think that inevitably will show up. But yeah, the business works through you because you're constantly learning lessons through it, right? You're constantly leveling up. Your how much money you make, how much impact you have is a direct correlation of what you believe about what you're creating.
Sure. How can people design a life and business that reflects their highest self?
How can people design a life and business that reflect their higher self? Um, I think the number one question you should ask yourself is what do you value? So if you were to die tomorrow and your friends and family were at like your your funeral and they were like, "Wow, Elon was really known for this." Like anything could have happened. You could have met Kim Kardashian, you could have met LeBron James and you would have still had those characteristics, those traits. Like that is a core value to you. Those are things that you should never abandon, and I think the problem is when you get into business, there's so many strategies, like, people ask me, "Okay, should I do a podcast? Should I do all these things?" I'm like, "Those things all work." That's why people sell those things because they all work. The difference is what is aligned with you? What is aligned with your unique design? What are your gifts? And I think when you're designing a life that is your dream life and you're creating income to support that, it has to it has to be aligned with your values. I I have started businesses where I do not have the same values as my co-founder. I do not have the same values as what the most optimal business where that business could be. Like for example, in private equity, you typically sell to an M&A company or a private equity company, and the market wildly dictates the value of your business and what you're going to be doing for the next 5 years, right? That was not aligned with me. And so if I were to have created my dream life, I would have felt really awful continuing down that path because it's not aligned with my values. So I think getting really clear on that, and I don't mean like integrity and honesty, like what really matters, like for me, I prefer to be the main CEO in any project that I have. And that's a value for me because it's my highest use of creativity. So if I were to join a project where somebody else is running the business, I could, but I would want to own minority of that business. Because it's just I'm my highest and best use case as a person is to be a visionary. So I think that's probably the most important question you can ask before you write anything down that you want on paper.
I think that's one thing that I've noticed with people that I've had on my podcast as well. Like I started this podcast because I always thought to myself, like, okay, how come Elon Musk gets the results that he does? You know, he has the same 24 hours as everybody else, but what is he doing differently? And this idea that you kind of are your future self and then you kind of like push yourself towards that direction, it's so interesting to me. And I think a lot of people think about manifestation in I would say a wrong manner because they think it's like, "Oh, if I believe this thing is gonna happen, it'll just, like, appear in my hands." But I think there's a lot of nuance that goes into it, you know, what when you think about it and you say, "Okay, I have to act like the person I wanna be in 10 years so then I can, like, fulfill that role." Is that something that you've noticed the best, you know, entrepreneurs, founders do, is they well in advance become the person that they want to be in the future?
100%. But I'll give the audience a tip because I've literally it has literally defined whether I have made $60,000 in cash overnight from a client within a 48-hour period practicing this one thing. And it just happened to me in April, which is why it's funny, I've used this before, but, like, even most recently, I've been getting, really, really good at it, where every great entrepreneur like, the difference between me and Elon Musk is that he has a really ingrained belief system. Very deeply ingrained belief system, and that comes from 3 things. 1, absolute delusion, and that's fantastic. I think we should all have delusion. 2 is experience. Some people get a better core belief system and confidence just doing more reps, and that's why you see entrepreneurs do really well sometimes later in life because they have an accumulation of all these experiences that boil down to, "I can do this now," right? And 3, it's having an incredible team or a support system that help you believe more, which is why people hire or have co-founders or partners that where you're like, "Okay, if I have this person on my team, like, I really believe that we can do this," right? Sometimes you can't do things alone. In terms of belief systems, all those 3 examples will lead someone to when they say what they wanna say out loud, like, "I will make $1,000,000 by January 2026." Just when saying that out loud. How do you feel in your body when you say that out loud? When you say that out loud and you feel kinda cringe, like, don't really believe that, something in you, in your body, in your energy, in your how you come across to the world, like, it's how you come across to who you're pitching to, your customers, your TikTok, whatever you are projecting out there, that slight, like, offness in confidence is what people will pick up, and the person who does believe that they're gonna make $1,000,000 by January 2026 will have a very different level of confidence. And so what I like to say to people is say your belief out loud, and if you don't fully believe it, like you feel a little, then you need to work on that. And how you work on that comes down to those 3 things. You're either gonna work on your manifestation and you can do meditations, you can download shit, you can journal, you can say things out loud 100 times in the car, whatever. Whether it's finding a co-founder to help you or whether it's experience, I have literally made 6 figures overnight, literally rewiring how I feel in my body and projecting that outwards and carrying that with me outwards. So I hope that helped.
Yes, 100%. That is so interesting. I adore that idea. That's amazing. Sabrina, thank you so much for sharing your wisdom. Where can people find you at?
Ooh, you can find me. I actually have a Substack called Intuitive CEO, and I'm creating an online community for people who want to work on their belief systems, have an incredible idea or a product or a business that they're working on, but they want to rewire their internal beliefs to either raise money, um, position better out in the market, or just be a better entrepreneur. So go to intuitiveceo.com and you will find links to all those good things.
Awesome. And for those of you listening, if you're not on Substack, what are you doing? Substack is like the best platform ever. I love it so much.
Yeah.
For all my listeners, I will see you guys next Tuesday. Thank you for listening all the way.